Welcome to Nugget 75 with Steve Grohman. This is a continuation of Nugget 74 on the topic of homeschooling. And here is the rest of that nugget. Well, we have one more verse that I want to hit, and then we're going to have a couple of texts, and then we'll be done with this. It's Colossians 2:8, and I'll read the King James, and why don't you read the NLT for us, because I know that you like the NLT version of this particular verse. Colossians 2:8 in the King James reads, "Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ." And you use this a lot, specifically with the creation versus evolution topic.
Well, yeah, because we are bringing up another generation that are spoiled through philosophy and vain deceit and the traditions of men and the principles of the world and not after Christ. And once again, that's another one of those verses that remind us of the urgency of the hour. Those young ones will be the leaders and educators tomorrow.
Evolution is Antichrist.
Absolutely it is. Yeah, and I like the NLT where it says, "Don't let anyone capture you with empty philosophies and high-sounding nonsense that comes from human thinking and from the spiritual powers of this world rather than from Christ." All of evolution is nothing but a bunch of high-sounding nonsense. It may sound good, but it is absolute nonsense. There's no way evolution could have happened in any form or fashion, but all the public school system teaches it. They hammer it. It's even in math classes these days. It's absolutely everywhere. And it causes confusion in our child's thinking, especially if we're not, as parents, neutralizing that. We need to give them evidence. That's the whole point of our creation series. That's why we go the series is almost 24 hours of information that helps them.
We do want to give you a couple of tips, and one tip that I often give parents when they come up to me and say, I can't homeschool, they come up with some kind of reasons. And mainly the moms don't think that they're qualified or they just can't because of financial situations. After talking a little while, they realize that their children are more important than a lot of the things that they just need to put aside. But I recommend
prioritize.
Prioritize, and our children need to be our number one priority after our serving the Lord. I recommend that people interview other homeschool parents that are most similar to you. Like we had one child, there would be no reason for me to talk to a mom who's got 7 kids, and she's teaching 7 kids. That's a totally different situation. There are homeschool groups, and if you want to call and talk and get some ideas, we would really love to be able to help you with this issue more on a one-to-one basis.
And we do that quite a lot.
Yeah, we do. I have a number of people in mind that they were more really upset with their children and how they were becoming and all that. And I was like, why don't you homeschool? And a lot of times, well, I can't do it. My wife won't do it. And I just talked to him for a little while and explained to you, I always tell people, I would take back the worst day I ever had homeschooling Paul any day, because the time that you spend with your child, there is nothing that compare to the time that you spend with them and what you can impart with them, as the Bible does instruct us. But I do recommend this book, Answers for Homeschooling. It's the top 25 questions critics ask. It's by Israel Wayne. We've gotten this book and given it to a lot of churches for them to have in their libraries. And it's just, people, are you qualified? Can you afford it? What about socialization? What if I don't have enough patience? Am I cut out for this? How do I teach multiple grades? What about colleges? These are all answered in this book. And again, we can answer those too, but some of you might want to just grab this book and find it and read it. Give it a chance.
And it's actually comforting to people because the questions are real. The questions are honest, but yet they're easily answered. That's the beauty of it. There's nothing really all that complicated about it. It just takes effort.
And the thing is that this book is really well designed. It's not just for those who are considering homeschooling. It's also good for those that are just starting or in the middle of homeschooling, kind of an encouragement. I know we were talking to a mom the other day and she's homeschooling and she's just feeling, the pressure, and it's like, stay the course. Just stay the course. You will be pleased with the outcome, we promise. But we want to end with this. We know this family very well. They have 6 children, and we got this text from the mom the other day. So thankful for your nuggets on YouTube. Emma was supposed to read a passage on Darwin and evolution today, obviously in support of evolution. We were able to message her teacher saying she wouldn't be reading it, used your YouTube nugget 29 about him, that being Darwin, so she could still do something to learn about him, but not be told he used science to come up with evolution, or that evolution is based on facts. I was also able to send the nugget to her teacher. We commend these parents on paying attention to what's going on in their child's life.
Yeah, and Emma's in the 5th grade, and she stood her ground. She was very polite about it, but yet she was able to use our creation material for a public school class on Darwin.
Right, and what's good
because
is
she
that
stood up. Because
she has a relationship with her parents. Her parents knew
Yes.
what was going on. Sometimes we found that students don't even take the textbooks home. They don't know what's going on. If you have your children in public schools, we implore you, pay attention to the curriculum. Find out what your children are being taught. We responded to this friend of ours. That is wonderful. Y'all are great parents. Meaning they are great parents. They are paying attention. They're being active. They're finding alternative. They're being forceful with the teacher.
They're being firm.
Right, they're being firm. That's the
they
best
weren't
word.
nasty in any way. They're just being firm. And, we forgot what our rights are, even in the public school system. Most people, if you just be firm, but you be polite, be Christian-like, they will give you an alternative.
And I think this might have been the last straw for Emma's parents because she responded in this text string, "Thank you. Thank you both so much for following what God called you to do so that we had access to these for ourselves and our children. We are actually homeschooling starting next year because of the rubbish in the public school system." And that's her comments. I want to go ahead and read the text of another friend that all of you might find interesting. Our daughter had come home after an October school day. We sat down for lunch and began talking about how her day went. She mentioned her class learned a new song. Upon attempting to recollect the words, she mumbled the word witch. Being surprised, I asked her what the song was about. My daughter, whom is 4 years old, told me the book her teacher read described a friendly witch that was a good witch. Needless to say, as a God-fearing and loving Christian, this did not settle well. It can be challenging to bring up our children in the admonition of the Lord without the added difficulty of having to refute seemingly harmless stories that leave lasting impressions that contradict God's Word. This was the final straw that pushed us to commit to homeschooling. Well, if that doesn't do it, I don't know what will.
They were teaching the kids this song about witches and how positive and good they are.
And kids are they absorb anything.
Oh,
they
yeah,
can memorize stuff and learn it quickly. I mean, she just taught
did.
it and
she just
she knew it.
He went to the teacher, contacted the teacher, said, my child's not going to do that. They understood, and they quit using the song at all throughout the whole class. Again, that's just one parent that stood up and literally changed the direction of that class. And a lot of times we, as Christian people in our society, we complain when one person changes things to the bad. But I'll tell you what, one person can change things to the good also, but it just takes us stepping up.
Absolutely, but this was one of many occasions that this particular set of parents have been dealing with their young children, and then they have a younger son who will be starting school in a couple of years. They, too, have decided to homeschool just because it starts at an early age, people. It isn't just biology in 9th or 10th grade.
No, it's not just college.
Singing about witches. This is a 5th grader learning about Darwin. I dare say most of us did not learn about Darwin in the 5th grade. They're bringing down this information in evolution and the Antichrist philosophies to the lower grades and catching your children sooner and sooner.
Because those are formidable time frames. I mean, we are learning. Those young ones, like you mentioned earlier, they're just sponges for information, and they will learn something. So we need to give them as much good to learn as possible.
And we do want to say, we understand there are single moms out there. There are people that are in situations where financially they just can't do it. It just doesn't work for whatever reason. But we want you to pay attention, just like the 2 examples we've given in this nugget, that the parents were paying attention to their children and made a difference with the teachers. In these cases, both of the teachers did acquiesce, maybe not be the right word, but they
changed things.
Right. They accepted what the parents said about it and made a good decision. It wasn't a problem. Don't be afraid of the teachers.
It wasn't a fight. It was not a fight. It was not a problem.
Sometimes they just don't really realize what they're doing. They're caught up in the system, and I think that we just need to realize that they are our children and they are our responsibility.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you.